one thing that I think it was Lewis that brought up, a lot about experimentation, and that's fun for certain folks, but it's also extremely rewarding. And I think that's one of the things that I really look at is if you're having fun, you're going to be a better engineer. You're going to enjoy your job more. You're going to be a better employee. If you're not in engineering, probably if you're having fun. And so, part of that is, do you have the freedom to experiment? Do you have the freedom to fail? Can you recover from that? What's the culture like around that? Because, it's not fun if you're allowed to experiment all day, but then if your experiments don't pan out, it's a problem, and so sometimes those things there's a cultural norm behind that isn't necessarily like anchored in fun. It's more in how do you handle experimentation, or how do you handle, learning things when success isn't the only thing that happens off the other side. And I do think that when you have, kind of come back to what we talked about earlier, when you have might be more economic on certain times, you may have less tolerance for that. Okay, can we fail fast, or can we fail slowly, or can we learn, or how do we do all that? And so that's something that you really want to talk about as a leader with your team is, what's our tolerance right now for failure, or learning through failure, or learning through things that don't quite pan out, or finding 7 ways not to do something before we find the 8th way that works, or, whatever. And I think that's both like, you can kind of tie fun and the economic uncertain times theme right back together at the same time with that type of, alignment on freedom for experimentation.
Yeah.
Would you call that like a value for transparency, Michael?
Maybe. To me, I think it's all about the context of like where you're at for real. And again, I find that if you just tell the truth, you don't have to remember a lot of stories. And so it could be, hey, here's where we're at. Here's what our tolerance is for this type of risk. Or, we're not willing to take a bet right now that's longer than 3 weeks. And so if you can figure this out in 3 weeks, if this is going to work or not, that's amazing. And if you can't, it doesn't. And that's cool if you can do that. And I've been at businesses where one department had that, that limit of, okay, we're not going to take a bet bigger than 2 or 3 weeks. And another one was like, we have 6 months because our conditions are different in this business unit or whatever. And that's totally fine too. And so you just need to kind of relay, here's where we're at, here's the parameters, and here's why. And then if people have questions, you can talk them through it, and hopefully they all understand. And if they don't, then maybe your understanding can be changed because they have different context than you have, or you align in some way. But I think, I guess it is transparency, but it's also just like making sure there's shared context all the way through.